What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Outwired. I'm excited to be here with everybody. My name is Brian Searle with Insider Perks, here with our esteemed co-hosts, Greg Emmert from Vireo and Scott Barr from Cairn Consulting. Welcome, gentlemen, to another episode. Got a lot of interesting things to cover today. We are going to talk about July 4th, which is, I don't know, something you guys do in America. No idea what that's for. Fireworks, parties, something like that. It's apparently going on sometime this weekend. For those of us in the real world, Canada Day was yesterday, so we celebrated that. I didn't get to take that off because no one in America apparently observes any holidays exist outside of America. That might be a stereotype, but I feel like it's pretty consistent across my client base. So
if we could get away with it, we'd celebrate them all.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in favor of that. Like, I'm fine with that. But it is nice. Like, I will admit, like, being up here, like, it is nice. I don't celebrate July 4th up here, but it is nice to have that day. Like, it's a calm day. Like, I can get a lot of work done. Like, kind of like the week and a half around Christmas, I can get a lot of work done. So I like it. So we're gonna talk about that and how to like make your properties a little bit less dependent on just holiday weekends. You know, coming from the camping scene, we traditionally hear Memorial Day, July 4th, Labor Day are our three big weekends. Well, let's see how this one goes and use that as a gauge of our season. Let's see how July 4th goes with the kids out of school. Let's see how Labor Day goes. Well, by that time, the season's over, right? And a lot of parks that I know tend to not hang their hat on that, but over-rely, I think. Is that a fair statement? Over-rely on some of those holidays, the marketing, the promotional push. And I know there are some outliers. KOA has a good weekend that they still do for care camps, which I think falls the weekend before Memorial Day, if I'm correct. And so there are other pushes there, you know, and I want to talk about some of the ways that we can help generate business, or we can give you ideas on how to generate business at different times throughout the year. You know, there are good parks that do Halloween weekends in October. There are, you know, apple picking and harvest. There are local places you can, anyway, we'll talk through ideas and stuff like that. So that's going to be a piece of the show. We are also going to talk about how the internet, as you know it, is dead, not dying, is dead. We're going to back that up with actually Cloudflare's CEO, who we're going to play a sound clip from in a little bit. If you don't know Cloudflare, it's a publicly traded company. They handle about 20% of the internet traffic in the entire world. So the guy knows what he's talking about. And then we're also going to talk about how social media and influencers are going to kind of be all like up in the air. And you just basically need to change your whole marketing strategy and fire the person who like just doesn't have any new ideas, which I will tell you guys, like, obviously I'm biased, but there are a lot of great marketing people out there, right? I don't, like, generally speaking, in the world. But I'm like, I was bored with marketing, man. Like, before AI came along, I was bored with marketing. Like, it was the same thing. Post on social media, send an email newsletter, design a website over and over and over and over and over. And there were no new ideas or no new, now everything's out the door. But all those people who have the same tired ideas that you relied on for 20 years that you're asking, what should my marketing strategy be? They don't have any new answers. They're telling you the same thing. You don't even realize the game that you're playing. You're losing it, but you don't even realize you're playing a game. So, are my lights flickering behind me? Is that weird?
Occasionally. It could be the plate in your head.
Yeah, that's true. I also have the second brain on top of my head, too. I don't know if you're aware.
The extra storage space. That's like 12 gig, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. I got an upgrade. It was 16 gigs. Because actually, believe it or not, you can trade it in. It's like a new iPhone. You just kind of, yeah.
Which is also dead. Oh, look at that. Perfect segue into the internet is dead. The iPhone, the phone is dead.
Oh, we got to do the thing for like what's on your mind for the week first. So who wants to start that?
I'll do it. I never go first. I'll go first. First of all, I'm looking forward to playing. I'm gonna be I'm going to be the campground owner who relies too much on the holiday weekends when we get into that. That's going to be fun. You guys can beat me up for it, and I'm going to tell you why I do it.
We should role play more. We should.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm going to role play. Because that's.
Would you guys do that? Like, if I was the host, can we like do like role playing with costumes? Like, you can dress up like a campground owner.
I am dressed up like a campground owner.
Are you?
Yeah, I look haggard. I'm losing my hair, and I have a polo on. I'm a campground owner.
Good point.
Maybe. You're not a KOA campground owner.
Right, it's not yellow. Right.
KOA is the only campgrounds that matter. So, yellow shirt.
So no, I had an interesting discussion today, and it ties back to other Outwired episodes that we've had, where, what did you two just say? I think it was you, Scott, who said it, and then Brian echoed it a couple of weeks ago. If you build it, they will come. That's just dead, right? Doesn't happen anymore. You really have to build with intentionality. And I had a really great call earlier today with a client that I really love and respect. And we're looking at developing their property, going into a master planning phase, trying to figure out where all the chess pieces are going to go now, so they can start taking advantage of some low-hanging fruit, but making sure they're not spending money on something that is then going to be just thrown in the garbage 3 years from now when they start this big not master planning process, when they actually start to implement the changes on the master plan. And they said, as we think about the new place for the pool, we want to build it so that we can have it open 365 days out of the year. So we want an indoor pool, because we think that is going to bring people to us in the winter.
Of course it will. As long as they don't have to walk outside to get to the pool, right? That was my thing. I lived in an apartment before this, and they had a fitness room, a workout thing that was like in the complex, but like you had to walk 10 feet or 12 feet across like an outside. There's no covering. I'm like, we're in Canada. What the fuck are you thinking? Like anywhere, right? But like you want me like, and I understand this is me, right? At the time, now I'm working out more, but you want me at the time to like, I'm already not interested in working out in your exercise room as it is, but you want me to go outside in the negative 22 Celsius weather to like what, in my workout shorts? So anyway, but yeah, like that, it has to be, the whole process has to be thought through.
But my point is, building an indoor swimming pool is not going to drive wintertime business for you. Like those campers those campers are either coming, they're either going to be in the area and they're going to come to you, or they're not.
That assumes that those campers are in RVs.
But this is and in the wintertime, likely they are. Especially for this part, because the lodging is not there, right? Like you need to
have the lodging.
They don't have lodging. Yeah.
Okay, then I agree with you.
Well, so give me a goddamn minute, would you? Scott, does he doesn't want to walk outside of the bridge? He's one of these guys we described as soft like a week ago, right? He's putting on a poncho when there's like 500.
I pushed away my microphone and everything, man. Go.
Brian, you're not yourself when you're hungry. You need a Snickers.
Yes.
Enough of this fasting stuff, okay?
All right. So my point is, don't build your amenities in the hopes that it brings you the customer. Figure out if the customer is going to be there. Do your market research. Figure out if there's going to be any audience at all. Because much of the time, especially this is an extreme northern latitude, they don't get a lot of snow, but it's very far north. Yes, maybe they have customers there, but they're more than likely folks that are full-timing, people maybe working in the area, right? Your typical wintertime campers that are looking for a place to stay while they work in the area or as they travel through an area. You're not going to gain weekend warriors in the middle of winter, northern latitudes. This is not a blanket statement. There are some parks that are doing it, to your point, Brian. Lodging, for sure, right? That can really drive that. But if you don't have that, don't try to build one or two amenities and think that if you put that out on your website or you do some marketing around it, you're going to get people to drive out there in the middle of wintertime because you have an indoor pool, when everything else in the area is practically shut down because it's sub-zero, right? That was my point till you fucking derailed it.
Sorry, man. But all that to say, I fucking agree with you. But also, like, I mean, we were talking about this on the show earlier, Scott. Like, And I played devil's advocate. I said I was playing devil's advocate, and maybe I am, maybe I'm not. Like, I really don't believe that our industry should hang our hat on the future of recreational vehicles and sales from dealerships as they're constructed today. I think that's a fucking terrible idea. And I think they are a part of our future. I think we need to continue to drive people to adopt RVs in some way. And there is a place for campground owners to do that, the industry to do that, Ojai to do that, everybody else to do that, right? But the idea that like RV sales or RV shipments are down and now we're just going to be down, or like we're not going to be, maybe we'll see this reflected in a year or 2 or 3, is silly to me. Like, there's too much opportunity here. Those lights are going to kill me by the end of the day. There's like a light switch back here. I should flip and see if that's the thing. But like that whole idea is just the flexibility you're going to have with glamping and cabin rentals and all that stuff. Man, like, I don't know if that's the best use of your land anymore. Lining up RV sites, especially when people want unique experiences.
I think that in general, the idea of mobility is attractive, but I also would agree that it's not the future of our industry. It has the potential to play a very major role if done right. Like I know you always talk about the self-driving RV. I'm telling you what, even if you could just go short distances with that thing, that would be a game changer. But I just saw someone rolled out the 100% electric RV the other day. I haven't read the article in detail. I just saw the headline.
Is that the Pebble?
Was that it? Yeah.
The Pebble Flow, the towable? If it's towable, it's probably the Pebble. But Winnebago has been demoing and
it was actually a company out of Detroit, as I recall. Anyway, if I see it, I'll send you the article. Maybe someone else has heard of this. I just was skimming headlines, but I feel like the industry has to fundamentally change in terms of RVs, how they view RVs. The one danger in the accommodations is that they're static. Once again, if they're just there. Whereas with an RV, you can do something else with that site. You can put someone else in it with a different need, and so on. So it does offer the owner a little bit more flexibility, but it's not necessary. Like Greg just said, it's part of the mix. It's part of the mix, but it's not the driver, pun intended, of the outdoor hospitality industry.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how behavior shifts is all. Like, I don't have any data. I can't speak to this. I can't, like, it's just a gut feeling, right? But it just feels like, as currently constructed, there's thousands of different ways the RV industry could adapt and change and make new models or different models or new things, or like do the autonomous thing that we were talking about, right? Or rent RVs in a more cost-effective way, or there's so many different things they can do. Don't take this as me writing off the RV industry, but as currently constructed, I'm not sold on the future of this thing long term. For being a primary driver of filling the amount of campgrounds that we currently have in the United States and Canada, without some kind of other option. Like, I also have to have glamping. I got to call my electrician now, Jessica. Remind me of that. Like, I don't know what doing thing. The guy put in the lights. All right. It's probably because I did it on trade for his website. Maybe his website wasn't good enough, and he just kind of left the wires a little bit loose. So, all right. Scott, what came across your desk?
What I kind of attached to this week was to trying to find some good news out there. And that is the idea of our public lands being jettisoned from this the bill that's before Congress right now. What it showed me was that the industry overall, the outdoor recreation hospitality industry, flexed its muscle and maybe realized they have a little bit more power than they realized, because they backed down real fast on that. And that was, to me, the mobilization of the industry and of the users of our public lands to say, no, these are too important. You're not selling them off. Now, I'm not saying the threat's over. That's a whole other conversation. But the fact is, among all the things that were taken out of this bill, that was taken out because it was a serious threat to whether or not it would pass. And that to me shows that, we have been all advocating for public lands on here a lot. We, as an industry, we should be advocating for them. It's a part of what the people, how they want to recreate, how they want to use it. And without our public lands, we lose a lot of our business. So anyway, that to me was one of the things, and I was heartened to see that it was that the industry went against some pretty powerful players and came out on the positive side of it.
Yeah, that was great news. I saw that on LinkedIn. Really happy for you guys down there that got removed from the bill and all that kind of stuff. Like I don't want to dive too far into the discussion, and definitely, actually, you know what? Never mind. We'll talk about that another week. We'll just leave it positive.
Yep.
Good win heading into July 4th. So thanks, Scott. You found it. You were looking for it and you found it, man. All right. I'm going to take my thing first this week, because we did my security thing last, and we usually tend to, is that okay? Can I do my thing first this week?
Go right ahead.
I mean, you're the host.
No, we're all co-hosts here, man. Like, I just happen to talk a little bit better, or I don't really say anything. Like, I just
better.
Talk better.
Did we just get a value judgment? Are you judging us?
You did. I mean, why else am I the host then? Tell me why. Why did you call me the host?
Well, to make you feel better. Really.
No, I don't need to feel better. I don't need an ego trip.
And by the way, where's our Outwired t-shirts and caps, host?
I thought that company that sent you your t-shirt was supposed to be your championship t-shirt, was supposed to be making them for us.
See that? I just left and no one noticed. You're the host.
They came out. The t-shirts came out as Outweird. I don't know.
That seems appropriate, honestly. At least for me, I'll take that one. You guys can have the correctly spelled ones. So I think where I want to start, and maybe I won't do all this at the beginning. Maybe we'll break it up with the holidays, because I think some of it will mix and match well together. I've been saying, you guys have heard me say this on this show, and on LinkedIn, and on MC Fireside Chats, and everywhere else for like 2.5 years now, that the internet is changing, that you can't sit by and you can't do the same marketing tactics that you always have been. And for better or worse mostly, I guess for larger part is a better way to put it, we have basically seen almost no reaction from not just our industry, from anyone. From anyone. And now we have actually data to show that this is the case. That like what I've been basically saying about the internet fundamentally changing has been happening, did happen, is happening now. And so we're going to play a video from somebody, from the Cloudflare CEO here. Jessica's got it pulled up here. We're going to pause and stop and start it a little bit, maybe in the middle of it. It's about 5 minutes of total content we want to play. But go ahead and, that one, share that, Jessica. And then we'll just go ahead and blow it up, and then you can play it.
Let me give you the actual numbers, because we have the data going back 10 years. So the best metric that we found to describe how much harder your business as a media creator, as a content creator has gotten, is to look at just Google data and look at how many pages did Google scrape, which is what they're taking from you, in exchange for how many visitors did they send you. And think about the Google product 10 years ago. The Google product 10 years ago, you did a search, you got 10 blue links, and the trade with you is you gave them your content, they took little snippets of it, described it, and in exchange, they sent you traffic, right? 10 years ago, the answer was for every 2 pages they scraped, they sent you 1 visitor, on average across the entire internet. We have really good data on it.
Okay, pause this.
What has changed?
All right, so do we understand what she's talking about so far, guys? Or what he's talking about so far, sorry. So you're familiar with how Google ingests content and gets it into its search results, right? Like, it goes out to your page with a bot, it scrapes the content, it understands it, it extracts a little snippet that sometimes you basically put in the website. It's called a meta title and description. for SEO people. And then they display it in the search results. People search for queries. Google sends you traffic. The trade-off has been that. We're all on the same page so far, right? So historically speaking, every 2 pages on your website that they would scrape, they would give you 1 visitor back for that. So your homepage, your RV sites page, you might get a visitor. Your RV sites page, your cabins page, you might get a visitor, etc. Okay, go ahead, Jessica.
Changed over that period of time, over the next 10 years, up until 6 months ago. We've added 2 billion people to the internet. We went from 4 billion to 6 billion people using the internet. So that should be good for you as a content creator, more people accessing it. The Google crawl rate has not changed at all. It's been remarkably consistent over that entire time. And so if you just had those 2 facts, you would actually think that for every scrape you would have gotten more visitors, but you all know that's not what's happened. How much harder did it get over the last 10 years to be a publisher? And I've asked that to a bunch of people, and the answer is, God, it's about 3 times harder, and that lines up exactly with the data. So what changed over that period of time is for every 6 pages that Google scrapes, now they send you 1 visitor, and that was 6 months ago. What changed in that period of time, that 10 years, it was instead of when you say, what year was Cloudflare founded, they would send you 10 blue links and you'd go to that traffic and you could monetize that or get value from it in different ways. Instead, now they give you an answer right on the page. And the official Google number, Sergey and Larry used to brag about how their job was to get people off google.com as quickly as possible. Now 75%, actually not now, 6 months ago, 75% of queries to Google get answered on Google, which means that if you were an original content creator, your information is getting summarized and then sold, because they still put ads there, but you don't get that traffic anymore. And that's the good news, because what's happened in the last 6 months? The answer is that in the last 6 months, it has gotten even harder than it did even over the last previous 10 years. And so the traffic ratio now is for every 18 pages that Google takes from you, you get 1 visitor. It's 3 times worse in 6 months. And what changed? We can track this on region by region by region by region. And the answer is AI overview, where they're taking your content and someone else's content and someone else's content. They're smashing it all together. They're giving you an answer right there. And I bet that the answer today is that 90% of queries to Google get answered without people clicking on a single link. And if the business model of the web has been search fundamentally, for the last 35 years. That's what it's been. Yeah, advertising and other things, but it's all funded and founded by search. If that's been the business model, and that the way that you get value is by one of 3 things. You either sell subscriptions, you sell ads, or you get the value of just ego, fame, right? A lot of content creation is done just for fame. All 3 of those things are going away, and they're going away fast, and that's just the Google data. It's still the good news. What's the ratio for OpenAI 6 months ago? 250 to 1. What is it today? 1,500 to 1. What's changed? People trust the AI more over the last 6 months, which means they're not reading original content. And so that means those 3 things go away. What's Anthropic? 6,000 to 1 6 months ago. What is it today? 60,000 to 1. People aren't following the footnotes. And so if you believe that the business model of original content creation is driving visitors to that content, I just have a really bad story for you, which is the future of the web is going to be more and more like AI, and that means that people are going to be reading the summaries of your content, not the original content. And what I'm worried about, why I'm wearing black today, and motorcycle boots, even though it's like 32 degrees outside, is I don't know if you can't sell subscriptions and you can't sell ads and you don't get an ego hit from knowing that people are consuming your stuff, why anyone's going to create content.
Okay, so the pushback, I think that the previous...
That's all we'll have from that video, but initial thoughts before I give mine.
Sounds like we're at like a Copernican moment, right? Where we're discovering that we move around the sun instead of the sun moves around us. This is an inflection point that's probably hard for most people to fathom, including me.
Yeah, Scott?
No, I'm with you there, Greg. It's like it's I guess the numbers speak for themselves in this case. They really do.
Like everything that everybody knows about how the internet works over the last 35 years, the entire internet economy, the whole fucking thing is built on clicks to websites. From Google primarily, but clicks to websites to either view content and then to get into some kind of a purchase funnel, which would lead to collecting an email address, which would lead to email marketing, which would lead to something else, which would lead to retargeting on so whatever the fuck else it is, right? Dozens of different options. But the whole idea is you got to get the person to your website first. Or recently you got to get them to social. We'll talk about social later. That's the whole business model of the internet. Or the content is the monetization, which is your local newspapers or your bloggers or your influencers who are getting paid to go visit a park and stay there. We'll talk about influencers more in a second. Or they're advertising. They're earning dollars by putting little tiny ads to the right. And like, to be clear, most people ignore those anyway, right? Like, but they're still there, and there's still a lot of people, there's still a lot of companies, because they're listening to marketing people from 12 years ago who will, just like there's still people who will spend a couple $1 million to create a television commercial and put it on primetime TV that nobody watches. Like, right? These people are still out there. And so like this is everything, guys. I mean, how is a content creator or a local newspaper, because remember the local newspapers already, let's take them for example, right? The local newspapers are already fucking hurting because they're not printing their things that they had before and delivering them to your doorstep. They don't have the attention of the consumer as much as they did before. There's 10 trillion different ways for people to consume news, let alone now you're also throwing in AI. But they're already suffering. So they've went to websites that have had basically subscription models or advertising on those websites now. And so that's why when you go to your local newspaper, and it happens up here in Canada too, when you go to your local newspaper, you're either asked to pay, like we were talking about Wall Street Journal earlier, right, Scott? Like $2.75 a week. Most of them, most are like $1 a week for a promo fee, and then whatever. I don't know how they're paying any of their staff on that stuff, but whatever. So $1 a week subscription, but like now you've lost that revenue if they don't need to click to your website, because for the people who like, and I don't know how many people do this. You guys tell me if you do this. Like when I look up a story, when I look up a piece of news, and I get to a website that I get to through Google News, that's like, I'm sorry, you can't read but more than the first or second paragraph before you subscribe, or you have to log in or create an account. I think, I don't know what the percentage is of people who sign up. I would guess it's low, but probably like maybe 20, 30% conversion rate on that would be my guess. If you really, really, really want to read that article. But if you're smart, you just take the fucking headline and you go back to Google and you put it in there and you click an article because somebody's regurgitated that content and spun it or rewrote it, and the same information is somewhere else for free. Like, I mean, I'm happy to support journalism, but come on, guys. Like, you got to think of a better way than this. You got to write really deeper, like the Atlantic. I pay for the Atlantic. The Atlantic is really good, right? I'm sure Wall Street Journal is worth the cost of it. But some of these local news organizations are not doing the in-depth reporting that they could in the past because they don't have the funding to do it. So it's a whole rabbit hole, right? But when you take away their visitors to local newspapers and there's no click to subscribe, that conversion rate goes down. The conversion rate probably stays the same or even is higher, but the number of people getting to the point where they have the opportunity to convert is much, much lower. And then you take away eventually, and who knows how fast businesses catch on to this stuff, because again, they're still making TV commercials. But like eventually somebody's going to figure out, like you look at Modern Campground, for example, on my side, we're not big on ads. But the reason for that is because I've known this is coming. I don't want to stake my hat on that stuff, right? And so if you look at somebody like Modern Campground, if you have a company like Cairn Consulting Group or Vireo who wants to advertise with Modern Campground and put an ad on my pages, there's still value in that, sort of, right now. But like, where's the value going to be when nobody clicks through and reads the article and instead gets a summary of Modern Campground and ChatGPT? They're never going to see the Vireo ad or the Cairn Consulting Group ad. But because you guys have a marketer that's cheap, or your neighbor's kid, or that you hired off Fiverr, or you're trying to do it yourself, you're like, well, it's working. Like, why would I ever even imagine that anything has ever been different? and I'm not tracking the clicks, and they're telling me like, oh, you got 10,000 impressions last month. And I don't know how much business that's driving. And so for a long time, a couple years probably, like there'll still be a trailing off effect where a lot of these people can kind of survive because the business owners are, for all like, can I just say they're stupid? Is that a thing? Like, I don't know how else to word it, guys. Like, I know that's mean, but like, you're wasting your money. No one's looking at it. And like, they're going to look at it even less now because of this data. So like at some point, then the local news organizations suffer, but then you take that to like bloggers and content creators and influencers and all the people. You take that to the product review sites. You take that to like anything you can think of. The whole economy of the internet is ad supported or subscription supported. Everything is. All of it is. The shoes that you buy were probably resulting from an affiliate link that somebody gave like $200 for. Like this is big when you see like the pharmaceutical stuff, right? All those ads. But so many different verticals and casinos and gambling and everything else. This is why SEO costs so much money in those verticals, is because of the affiliate links. When you click somebody's affiliate link, it remembers who you were and marks you down as a referral. And if they make a purchase of that drug or that casino or that hotel or whatever else, then you get a cut of that commission. You get paid out a fixed rate or a percentage of whatever they spend. But what happens when it's all done through ChatGPT and there are no affiliate links anymore, when you can't compete in the 10 blue links for Google to be number one that they click on to get to the article that you wrote that's like a bunch of fucking junk that you got to scroll down through to get the recipe, right? You're just trying to cook dinner, but you got to scroll down past like the 20 pages of recipe shit.
God, I hate that.
Right? Yeah. But that exists because the internet is basically broken as it is now, but that's not going to exist anymore. To get down to the affiliate link to like, oh, you need this rare like cooking oil to do our recipe, click here to buy it from Amazon. And then they get a cut of that. It's not going to happen anymore. So everything breaks, everything collapses. It already is. These businesses are going to go they're going to go out of business. And I don't know how to solve it. I don't have an answer for it at Modern Campground, right? Like right now I'm funding Modern Campground through insider perks, basically. Like Modern Campground doesn't make a lot of money. That's fine. I never intended for it to do that. But there are a whole lot of people, millions of businesses that for sure need that income from ads or from subscriptions or from clicks or from whatever else. And they're in a fuck ton of trouble, guys. And the data is here. And like, I knew this was coming, but this is a little bit faster than I thought it was going to come, honestly. So thoughts? I know. It's there's no train of thought. There's no thinking. There's no coherent response. I read a couple articles on this stuff and I've been studying it. This is like we've been pitching the SEO plans to clients and saying like, you've got to do this master SEO plan that we've put together for you. This is what we think you should do. And it's like a deck of 25 pages. And we have clients emailing back. Well, like I did some research on SEO and this is what SEO says. Like what we're doing doesn't exist. You can't verify it anywhere because we're the thought leaders. So I don't have an answer here, but this is bad. And this impacts everything, right? Like it will impact campgrounds, our audience, a little bit less because you're a local business and because ultimately there's a purchase intent, right? They're going to go buy a campground or an RV site. They're going to go rent a cabin or a vacation rental or a glamping property or a tent. And so that purchase decision will, like, they won't browse your website. We've talked about this in the show before, right? Have we talked about where like you're not going to get the comparison in Google?
Yeah. Like
you did before? Okay. So like you're going to get less traffic to your campground website, but they should be, in theory, more likely to convert. SEMrush did a study. For those of you who don't know SEMrush, they're a big SEO company. SEMrush did a study that said the average visitor from an LLM or AI is worth 4.4 times more to your business than one from Google search is. Because by the time they get to your website, they are already more qualified. They've done all their research in ChatGPT or AI. They know all about you and they know that you're likely the best fit for them. So they're just going to your website to either look at photos of your campground or to purchase. And eventually the photos are already going to be in ChatGPT. So it's just going to be to purchase. But that purchase intent will still be there. You don't need the traffic. But the owners of the properties, owners and operators, especially the people at the top, the CEOs who own 20 plus properties or whatever else, all they want to do and hear from their CMOs is how many visitors did I get? How much did it go up year or week over week, month over month? And you're not going to have that data for them anymore. And those are going to be hard conversations to have because the future of the internet is awareness.
So my question is that who in this situation, I mean, is this bad news for marketing firms? Is it bad news for campground owners? Is it good news for the consumer? What's the net on all this for?
Well, let's start with consumers, right? Like, it's good news for consumers because it's easier to find your information. It's easier to get your information. You have to spend less time doing it. Assuming AI is trustworthy, right? Which is getting better all the time. But like, assuming that's the case, it's more convenient for consumers. It is easier to access. It's easier to research, easier to do, easier to make your purchase decision, all that kind of stuff. So it's way better for consumers. They just get to the point where they purchase and they're done, right? So consumers win. And that's why this is so powerful and will continue to be so powerful, and why Google will continue to shove it down people's throats, and so will Apple and Meta and OpenAI and everything else, because it's better for the consumer. And if it's better for the consumer, just like you saw in Google, the stats, 75%, 6 months were answered on Google, 90%-ish is his estimate, not official data. Now it keeps people on Google longer. It's better for Google. Better for the consumer equals better for Google. If Google does their job right? So that's number one. For campgrounds, like, it depends on your strategy. And so this is where, like, we believe that the future of, and I'm just hesitating because, like, there's a lot of this stuff that, like, if you're our client, you can have, right? Like, I don't want to be that guy, but, like, it's a lot of stuff and a lot of time we put into it. So I think that the future, and I answered this in a LinkedIn comment, is it's a game of awareness. It's a game of when somebody is researching a trip or something near a place or in a city or an activity or an amenity, or has a question about something related to camping or whatever, that I want to be the answer or mixed into the answer or the summary of the AI as many times as I possibly can that are relevant for me. Forget about tricking it. Forget about lying. Forget about, like, trying to game it. You're not going to trick it. Like, AI is already smarter than me, Scott, and Greg combined, and everybody else who's listening to this. It's smarter than Elon. It's smarter than everybody. You're not going to trick AI. But what you do have to do is do a good job of explaining what your campground has to offer. The more you explain, the more you tell. Even if they're not visiting your website, you're giving AI the content to grab and consume and set and summarize, and then make you more of an answer to more questions, is the answer. So it can be good for campgrounds. There are, for sure, I was telling a client this earlier today, there are for sure less high hills to climb as a local business than there are as a national content creator business, because you inherently have San Antonio or Bangor or Washington, D.C. or Detroit or Cleveland attached to your query, right? So that hill is still steep, but is not as anywhere close to as steep as somebody trying to rank for socks or whatever, right? In all of the United States, or best TVs to buy or something like that. Those websites are completely dead. Marketplaces are dead. All that kind of stuff. So, like, that you for sure have to put some thought into this stuff, and you're going to, like, if you're watching this show, you're going to call up your marketing company. Or if you even have a company, let's be clear. Like, a lot of people just have their nieces or nephews doing it in this industry. I don't even know what I did air quotes there for. It didn't really make sense. So, like, nieces or nephews doing this, right? Or they have they have a marketing agency, or a marketing person that does this for dozens of websites or has been doing it for decades. And they're not changing their strategy. They don't have the thought leadership. They're not looking at this data not because they're not smart, because they're not obsessed with it like I am. The people who know this data are the people who are obsessed with it right now. Like, eventually it will trickle down, right? And you'll start to see this in your website traffic if you're paying attention to your analytics and things like that. And eventually your conversion rate, if you're not paying attention to that, it will trickle down. But like right now, it's not even hitting to a larger extent. It's not hitting campgrounds and RV parks yet because AI overviews is not showing up for queries for local businesses anywhere near what it is for national yet. But it will very, very quickly. And then you're going to start to see your traffic go down and your conversion, you're going to react. And then it's going to be maybe too late, maybe not too late. I mean, it's never too late, right? But like you have to, like the strategy is now, the content's now. Like if you look at Cloudflare, that company is blocking AI bots by default from scraping content. Guess what that means? If you don't know how to manage Cloudflare and your website host uses Cloudflare, ChatGPT's bot is blocked from crawling your website. Do you actually want that to happen? Because then it can't ingest anything about your website. So as a content creator and influencer, you probably want that maybe to protect your content. But as a local campground, turning that on by default on Cloudflare is going to fuck a lot of people who don't know how to do that right. And the problem is like a lot of these marketers just like, it's not their fault. It's not that they're not smart, right? But for the last 15 years, you haven't had to do anything different. Nothing's changed. Send an email, post on social media, design a good website. And there are a lot of good people who do in our industry who do a great job at that, right? But that thinking is dead, not dying. It's dead. And the numbers just proved it to you. And you think it's 18-1 now and it's going to stop there. They've only rolled out AI overviews like a little bit in the United States only, right? And a few other places that they've launched it. But like, it's not even on, I think it's on like, last I saw was like 30 to 40% of queries. Something like that. This is just getting started. Like it's going to be the same thing as OpenAI eventually. It's going to be 250-1. It's going to be 1,500-1. It's going to be 60,000-1 like it was for Claude. And then what are you going to do? By that time, you're out. Like especially if you've been blocked by Cloudflare. So that's your question about campgrounds. There was 3 you said, Scott, right? Consumer, business, and what was the other one?
Well, the consumer, the campground owner, and marketers like yourself.
And marketers, yeah. So and marketers like are again. I think marketers are like the same reason there's still agencies out there that can charge millions of dollars to produce TV commercials. There will be some marketing companies who just somehow manage to survive and still don't change their tactics. But I think most marketing companies are going to be okay for a couple years. Like I think most will, and the consequence of that, or the reason of that, is because of what we just talked about with owners not paying attention. It's the same reason that local newspapers will be fine because people will keep placing ads. Because either the owners are not, like you as an owner, you're not asking the right question. And we talked about this, I think last week, was it for security? Like you need to know 5% of what's happening. Like it's your job. Like you can hire a marketing company. It is not the marketing company's job to just do everything and say it's good and for you to not know anything. You need to ask questions of your marketing company, whether that's me or anybody else. You need to ask questions of your consultants. You need to ask questions of your feasibility in your data studies. You don't need to know that and be a master like Greg is or a master like Scott is, but you need to know 5% in order to go to them and say like, hey, this thing doesn't really add up. Explain your methodology behind it, or explain why you think I should do sites this way or design that way or whatever else. And if you don't know that, there's a chance that they could be telling you the truth, but there's an equally big chance and probably greater that they're just fucking with you, and not intentionally.
Not Scott and I, for the record.
Yeah. Not intentionally fucking with you, but just because they also don't know the questions they should be asking of the current state of marketing. So they're not deceiving you on purpose. And so those business owners who continue down this, and let's face it, like a lot of small business owners will, in our industry or not, right? Like you're losing the game, but you don't even know you're playing the game yet. A lot of small business owners will, so a lot of marketing companies will be okay for a little bit. And then there's that catch-22 of like, well, what if you realize you're not going to be okay? Right? The owners start asking the questions because they will, especially because the owners are using the AI more. So this is also a bigger catalyst that's a negative for a marketing agency, is that just like the widespread adoption is happening of AI. There are 800 million weekly users now of ChatGPT. I think the last time we cited that was like 450 million or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
800 million weekly users of ChatGPT, weekly active users of ChatGPT. Because the owners of the parks are also going to be using the AI, hopefully that will, like, not hopefully for the marketing agencies, but like, I don't know what to say, it's going to increase the questions that people are asking. Like, well, I'm ChatGPTing this or whatever else, or AI overviewing this or Clauding this or whatever the methodology and terms that we have going forward are. And so this is creating this question for me. I need to know this. I need to ask this. Like, and so maybe that will move faster. But then there's that catch-22 from the marketing agency side of like, when they finally realize it, when they have enough clients call them out, or they realize it on their own, do they actually disclose it? Right? So then this becomes like I consider myself, and I'm not talking about me, right? But like I as the marketer sitting in the marketer's shoes. I don't know why the fuck I keep using air quotes, but whatever. So like I as the marketer, have discovered this thing. I've discovered the video of the Cloudflare CEO talking about this. It was shared with me on LinkedIn or sent to me on email or whatever the case. And I've watched it. And I've realized that what I'm doing in SEO or on website or what I'm doing for a client on social is not working anymore. Do I then go tell the client that? When I know that I don't have the ability to change what I'm doing because I've had my head in the sand for 3 years, or I just don't want to, or I don't have the scalability or technology or tech skills or whatever else it is? Or do I keep lying to them and telling them the same thing? I think you'll see a significant number of marketers continue to lie because they have no other alternative. And so then it's up to you as the owner, right? Like, again, I don't think that these people want to willingly deceive, but I think you will get to a point where they know if they tell the truth, they'll go out of business. They'll like, because the answer is if I tell the truth, okay, well, what's our strategy? Right?
So if this is the internet's dead, right? Not dying, dead.
The internet as you know it is dead. The internet's not dead.
So the internet's dead as we know it. The internet's dead as we know it. There's always opportunity at times like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So or places that, well, and I guess one opportunity is if you're a park owner, start using AI more, right? To double check to the point you just made. If you're a park owner, start using AI more to double check Brian or whoever your marketing agent is, or your consultant, or your data specialist like Scott and me. But what's the opportunity for people in our industry, whether it be folks in your chair or mine, or better for our audience, which is probably more than likely owners, operators, investors? Where does the opportunity come? Because inflection points like these, there's always that side where, 10 years you look back and you go, wow, those guys all bet right on this and they got it right. And what's the opportunity that you see? Or is this all too new where you're like, I don't know?
No. The opportunity is to provide more information about yourself and be the answers to more questions.
And so our websites, the more you talk about this, I have an interesting thing going on in my head. Like, for the longest time, we've heard if your website is a bunch of text and it's like, my first website was in, 96, 95 or 96, something like that was our first website for our campground. It was like a brochure on the internet. It was a single page, and I have no idea how many words, way too many by standards now, right? And just a few pictures. And so then there was this move to, well, you don't want to, it's like death by PowerPoint. If you're doing a presentation, if you got nothing but words on your slides or charts and people in the audience are going to sleep. Similar for your website, right? You didn't want a freaking lexicon up there. You wanted enough stuff to get people interested, some really pretty pictures of your park, and then find me over here, click on this button to book. So are you saying, in a way, because you've got to give AI more to chew on, right? Is what you were talking about before, more information. Are we going to go back to text heavy websites?
I mean, you're assuming, let's use your example of your brochure website, right? You're assuming your website can only be 1 or 10 pages. Why can't it be 80?
Yeah. Okay. So this is what. So the website is going to grow, and you touched on this in an earlier episode that we did, where we pulled the Ontario Park out, and you were sort of going through their website, and you talked about that maybe upcoming. If you've got a playground, your playground gets its own page, and if you've got a pool, your pool gets its own page. Is that where we're headed? Where there's just a massive amount of information across a bunch of pages instead of 1 or 2 or 3. Now you will have 80. And that's going to make it sexy to the LLM search?
I think so. That's what I believe. I mean, there's a whole lot more strategy underlying it than just having a page that says you have a playground, right?
Right.
But yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think the opportunity could easily grow to 200 pages at a large RV resort. But then again, you run into the same problem with your marketing company, right? Like, I know at least 3 people in our industry who charge $250 to add an extra page to your website.
Yeah. So now if I've got 20 extra pages, boy, I almost can't make that up in reservations driven through my website.
No, and then you've got the companies that charge $125 an hour or more to edit, to make a change. Well, if you got 80 pages, you're gonna have a lot of content to edit.
Yep.
How the fuck are you gonna do that?
So the opportunities, as you see them for our audience, for the owners, operators, investors, are
more information, answer to more questions.
Okay. So your website needs to act as a thought leader.
Your website should be a database of information about your property. You should be able to present everything that anybody would ever want to ask, know, have a question about, both in your park and in the local area. Everything. All of it should be on your website.
Which is quite different from what we're doing now, right? Yeah, quite different.
Because we're optimizing for the human. And this has been the guidance from everybody. Like, we talk about usability of websites, right? Usability is still important. Design is still important. There are still humans going to websites for now, right? But the guiding principle has always been, like, I don't know, what was it, like depth of 2 pages. Everything goes no more than 2 depth of pages. And you can still accomplish that to some means or necessary, right? But that's not the Bible anymore. That's not what you need to design for anymore. You need to design for both that, and it's a blend. It's really fucking hard, right? Like, the plan that we've come up with for clients is like a blend of, there's still humans going there now, and then AI in the future. And when it's all AI in the future, or 95% AI in the future, which is going to be in a couple years, the robots and operator and everything else are going to go to your website and do all that stuff. Then maybe the answer changes. Right? Maybe it's not as much of a focus on usability, and maybe it is more text heavy, or like eventually it needs to be APIs. Just needs to be database queries. There'll always be some kind of front poster thing, right?
But in the background, the things you won't see will be the API, and that's what
right now you have to put those 200 fucking pages in front of the user, because that's the only way the bot can find them right now. But if the bot can find 200 or 180 of those pages through an API and can get the information that it needs, and you can only still then present 20 to the user, that's a win-win.
Got it.
But the internet is not there yet.
All right. So for everybody listening at home, the opportunity is call Brian and he makes you 200 web pages. Fucking amazing how this works out going in your favor, bro. I got to tell you, fucking amazing.
I mean, we'll do it. Like, we have a plan.
Clearly.
Like, we will. Like, we have a plan for this. We've reworked our whole website plans. Again, this is not about me, though. There are other people out there who have these ideas. It has to be about you as the owner. You must go to ChatGPT. You must educate yourself either on ChatGPT or on YouTube or on articles or Cloudflare CEO or whatever the fuck. You have to educate yourself, and you have to ask the questions, because, man, that marketing agency is for sure going to go out of business. Like, 90 out of 100 people who do marketing today are going to not be doing marketing in 10 years, because marketing as a profession as it is right now will not exist. So the chances and odds that you are currently hiring or working with one of those 90 out of 100 people is very high. By definition, it's 90%. But you're like me, Scott, see, I can bring data to the party. So is 90%, right? And so do you want to go down with that ship? Or do you want to go do your own research and start learning what you need to learn and ask the right questions to make sure that if that marketing agency, because they have no other option, is lying to you, or because they just don't know, do you want to go down with that fucking ship? It's up to you. And you also have to be cognizant of the fact that, like, when you use ChatGPT to figure out what questions you should ask, that they're probably using ChatGPT to answer you right back.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean they know anything or know how to execute anything just because they have good answers. Make them prove it.
I think that's going to be the really interesting point when all this hits. So we're AI is going to continue to advance, right? We're all going to get, not everybody, but they'll get to a point where at least 50-60% of us are relatively proficient with it. When I say us, I don't mean like me. Maybe I'll be dead by then. I don't know. But as a population, there'll be a point where there'll be like this tipping point where the majority of people are pretty proficient with AI, and we'll have the glasses or the headset, and it'll be running all the time. The ability to bullshit anyone is out the window, and it'll be the world. I just picture this world turning into nothing but people fucking fact checking each other
Did we watch the Cluely video in here?
8
did I
seconds.
play that?
Yeah, we did. I think at one point it's going to be that, right? We're all just going to, but then what the hell are we going to talk about? It's going to get really uninteresting if you can't call someone on their bullshit. Like, that's kind of fun to call someone on their bullshit. There won't be any more bullshit.
No, there won't be any more bullshit because you'll be able to fact check in real time.
That's what I mean.
AI will be on all the time. This is what, like, this is where the whole paradigm of everything shifts. So we don't know what they're working on yet, but you saw the little thing with Sam Altman and Johnny Ive and their partnership. Johnny Ive, for those of you who don't know, is the one who designed all the Apple stuff with Steve Jobs. And they're working on supposedly a new device that's completely different from anything you've ever heard of to interact with AI. Nobody knows what it is. We think maybe, according to patent filings or something else that leaked, I think it has something to do with something in your ear, right? But like it's just something completely different. What we have now, laptops and desktop computers, the way that, and phones, the way that you interact with the internet now is also going to die very quickly within the next 5 years.
Yeah, why wouldn't it all go to voice, right? If you can,
Well,
if I can say it and it can hear me, and
or an overlay in your glasses, like Google XR's glasses or Meta's Ray-Bans or something like that.
Samsung, what is it, Heian project, same thing, right? They've got the little overlay in the glasses.
Yeah. But yeah, those two, like the way you interact and talk to the internet is going to be completely different. Eventually, AI is just going to be on 24/7. It's going to listen to every word you say if you let it to, and lots of people will. I know it freaks people out, but you're going to let that happen when it can remember all your conversations and everything you've done and remind you of everything you've ever done in the history of whatever. Yep, I remember. I'm looking for a birthday gift for Jim. 6.5 months ago, you had a conversation with Jim at a dinner party at his house, and he mentioned this thing. Great. Go buy that. Okay, done. Shipped it to your house. So, like, yeah, Jessica was like AI being connected to your thoughts. Like, that's eventually going to happen too. It's the Neuralink thing that's like invasive, but you can put the caps on your head now too. It's just going to know everything. It's going to be on all the time. So the way you interact with the internet, whether it's voice or glasses or your Tesla or your toaster or whatever the fuck it is, right, is completely different. Like, we used to speculate with this on voice like 5 or 6 years ago. What if, and now it's becoming true. Like, what's the point where like AI follows you everywhere? So we were speculating long before we thought about, like, this is 7-8 years ago, before we I even thought of like, oh, there could be a thing like Meta Ray-Bans glasses that have AI on 24/7 that could listen to you and follow you everywhere, right? But we were talking about like smart speakers in Target shopping store aisles, right? That would just recognize your voice. So you could just go shopping in Target and go down and be like, hey, remind me to check that thing on Amazon later for a price comparison. And it would just know who you were. And then it would save that to your account and you'd be able to check it later, right? Like a whole ecosystem. But that's what's going to happen. Like, forget about trying to deceive people on price. Forget about trying to, like, and that's going to be net better for the consumer.
Yeah, for everybody.
It's going to be really fucking bad for the consumer who has a job at one of the companies who's about to get fucked. But like long term, it's going to be better for the consumer. We're going to have to figure that out as a society. That's a whole existential question we're not going to talk about today. But yeah, this is hard data that this shit is happening now, guys. And this is the strategy. Nobody's changing their strategy. It goes further than that. You look at influencers, right? Promise to talk about influencers briefly, and then we'll switch in a second to holidays. I don't want too much longer. But like if you switch to if you look at influencers, all these campgrounds who have this influencer strategy where they're going out and hiring these people to they're not even giving free stays anymore. They're actually paying these people thousands of dollars to come to their park. A lot of the strategy and the views of those influencers come from their blogs or come from their websites or come from their search engine presence or come from YouTube or come from social media. And we'll talk about social media in a second. And like YouTube and social media are pretty important tools for these influencers. But same thing with ads. What happens when you can pay somebody $5,000 or $10,000 or $20,000 to come be an influencer at your park? That was a really good air quote one. You like that? By the way, I don't know if you guys have realized, and like I feel like this is an appropriate time to tell it. Like AI is really progressing well. For example, there's a reason that there's been air quotes. Do you guys realize that this is AI Brian that you're looking at right now?
Could be. How would you know the difference?
You wouldn't. Because I'm not AI. But like it's coming fast, right? And you have to be aware. Like the same thing with the influencer strategies. If you're paying the same amount of money, and the people aren't going to their blogs and viewing all of your content, and yes, the influencer is providing information, which is the same thing I just told you to do on your website, right? The influencer is providing information to the AI that the AI can then summarize. But if that information that's being provided is relatively the same as it is being provided on your website, which it will be, most influencers are just writing about their experience at your park, right? They're not putting anything new out there on the internet that wasn't already there, other than their experience. And I'm not slighting influencers' original content work I think they're very talented people, right? But they're not providing any new information about your campground to the internet, which means there's nothing new for AI to pick up, to summarize, to show up in different or new questions, right? So then what's the value prop of those influencers? The whole influencer ecosystem collapses, and it will. There are already people, I'm loving my air quotes, but this is good today. There are people on Instagram that have millions of followers that are not people. They are AI influencers. And most of them disclose this stuff. They already exist. And they're followed by millions of people. And so when you're out there trying to hire these influencers to talk about your park, and they have millions of followers on Instagram or hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram, the number of followers doesn't matter anymore. What matters is the attention that content is getting. And if that attention is being competed with by ChatGPT, who's only sending 1,500 or scraping 1,500 pages to give you one visitor, it's the same thing that's going to happen to the influencer. You're going to get less traffic from the influencer. Okay, great, but that video on YouTube could be a thing that helps me long term. Could be. But what happens when AI is full of fake YouTube videos and content creators who are just like right now it's garbage. Very shortly, in a couple of years, it's going to be really good. And maybe even sooner than that. We've shared some of the videos, right? We've already been entertained by some of the stuff VO3 comes up with. Like, it looks fake, but it's entertaining, which means people are going to watch it. There are only so many hours of the day that people can consume and watch content, which means those eyeballs come from somewhere else. The same thing as the 800 million weekly users of ChatGPT. Where is their attention coming from? We can't just create 25 hours of attention in a day. That attention is coming from social media or coming from traditional Google search or coming from some other marketing funnel channel or wherever it is, right? There's only so much of it to go around. So when Instagram, as it already is today, but when it becomes 6,000 million times more flooded with AI content than it is today, good luck with your influencer standing out, because the algorithm of Instagram is all that matters, not how many followers they have. And when the algorithm of Instagram can serve content that is not that influencer to somebody who has a higher likelihood of watching a longer video because it's Bigfoot cooking a pizza, or right? Because people will watch that, or cats diving. Did you see the one with the cats diving off the Olympic boards? Did you see that? It's really cool. Go look it up if you haven't seen that. It wasn't VO3. It's a new video model from, I think, China or something like that. They have like cats doing an Olympic high dive. It's really entertaining. They do the spinning and the physics and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, when it's like that, like you're in trouble. Like the influencers are not going to give you the reach they want. So if your influencer strategy is out the door, and it will be, AI is going to create better influencers than your influencer that you hire now will ever be able to do. It will at least match it. Like it's not there yet, but it will be in probably less than 5 years. And then it can create the video content and the blogs and all the things. Like, how are you going to reach people? The same thing applies to your campground social media strategy when you're posting stuff on your social media page. You're competing with noise. The social media people don't want to share links either. This is not just a Google thing either. You share a link on social media, the algorithms downgrade it. They don't want you to leave the ecosystem. They want to keep you on LinkedIn. They want to keep you on Twitter. They want to keep you on Facebook. They want to keep you on Instagram. They want to keep you on TikTok. You have to have, so the whole future of marketing is awareness. Making people aware of what you offer in every way possible, of everything that you potentially could be a benefit to them of, whether it's at your campground or in a local area, tying it together with you, offering that information is awareness to get them to the point where they're ready to make a purchase, which is the only time, and that's only going to last for like 2 years, where they need to visit your website to make a purchase, and then AI was going to make the purchase for them. And then they won't ever need to visit your website. AI will. So, like the opportunity is there, right? This is not, it does sound like doom and gloom because nobody's pivoting, but it's not. There's a lot of opportunity here, like you talked about, Greg, for the owners to be information to the answers to more questions. The early adopters are going to really have a field day with this stuff. Just like in the early 2000s, people used to pay 10 cents for a Google Ads click. This is Gary Vaynerchuk's big shtick, right? Like he was like, I'm one of the biggest wine producers in the whole world by like bidding 5 cents on Google Ads when everybody's like, what the fuck is Google Ads? Right?
Yep.
So there's a lot of opportunity here for, and I don't know what the opportunity is for influencers, content creators, but if you look at like social media for campgrounds, and this is the last piece I'll touch on, and then we'll pivot. If you look at social media for campground owners, like there needs to be a whole different strategy. We've talked about on this show about creating buyer personas and drilling down into niche audiences before, right? Now you can create an AI influencer for your campground that, let's say, is a local guide to Cleveland, Ohio. And they work for your campground and their whole profile is branded as you, and they've got a little KOA shirt on, or they've got a, what was the name of your park, Greg? Oh, you were a KOA.
Homerville KOA.
Yeah, Homerville KOA. Or they've got a Homerville shirt on if you're not, right?
Yep.
And they're tying in the social posts to talk about your property, but they're curating an experience all about the local area. And then you have a social media guy, that AI does that on social media. It does it on a blog. It does it on a Spotify podcast to curate the area for you. It does it on a YouTube video, and it puts you all over the fucking place. And you don't have to do any work except decide what content it's going to spit out. Like there's an opportunity for people to do that right now. And then there's an opportunity for people to niche down. I'm the solo female car camper traveler who travels around Texas or Dallas. And I talk about the different types of really cool things that I've seen at campgrounds. And, now you control that. So now you can make sure that it's talking about your property more than other properties, or I don't know how that works, right? But there's all kinds of opportunities to niche down, to give different perspectives. You can create, and people, like, you can laugh at this stuff, you can joke at this stuff, you can roll your eyes at this stuff, just like many people roll their eyes with, like, nobody's going to adopt AI fast. Like, I don't care if you trust AI, your customers trust AI. Period. Full stop. That's why it's 18 to 1 now. That's why it's 250 to 1, 1,500 to 1 now. Because they trust AI enough to do the research. Should they? Maybe not. Maybe it's not quite there yet. but they do anyway. So like, it's not about your opinion. Never has been. It's not about my opinion. It's about what your customer, client, potential guest, whatever, will do. And you've got to make sure that you're providing that, or just get out of the way and get steamrolled, because people are going to steamroll you. And you may survive that steamrolling process, but you won't have the opportunity to have the 5-cent Google ad clicks. Thoughts? You guys got to talk now. I need a drink of water. Come on, guys.
What do you got, Scott?
I really don't have anything to add to that.
Yeah.
Was it valuable though? Was it good? Was it?
Yeah.
Did I just?
Yeah. I just it's not. This isn't something I'm well versed in.
Yeah. Same. So. Same. That's why I was asking about the opportunity, because
right.
I certainly don't know what
like
that is.
You can see it, right? I mean, now we have this hard data. Now it's not just Brian running his mouth. The data is there. So it's up to you guys how you do it. One thing I want to touch on real quick is when we talk about technology, and then we'll pivot. Jessica, we share screen. Not mine. There's another tab over there. Yeah. This came up in one of the groups, Mark Kep's group actually on Facebook. This is really interesting. It has nothing to do with AI, but has to do with technology and automation, and again, making sure that you're paying attention to trends and things that you can do. Somebody posted this. I can't remember the name of the campground, but they said they put these on all their picnic tables. QR code to order here, firewood, ice, honey wagon services. Scan the QR code. It goes to a form on their website. They fill out the form, and then the form gets, I think, texted, is what they said, to some of their phones or maybe Gmail, and then they have a special ringtone or something or notification set up so they know that this comes in. This is the kind of stuff, guys, that like we're automating this as part of Camp Vantage, not this park, right? But we're doing things like this as part of Camp Vantage. These are the ways that you increase your ancillary revenue in ways that you haven't even imagined before, right? There are ways, and I commented on this post, and I said there's ways that you can just take that QR code and feed it directly into your reservation system, or take it to Stripe and process the payment automatically, and then have it text Tom who delivers the firewood, right? These are the things that you got to start thinking outside the box for, and ChatGPT will give you the ideas and answers and questions. But this idea of technology makes the outdoor experience worse is so completely false. This makes the customer experience better and more convenient.
Yep.
And it makes you more money. So kudos to whoever park that was. But
that is, I can tell you if you want to know. I scanned it. I'm trying to figure out if they're going to get it. It just says, oh no, it says to your site. So I'm probably not going to get my honey wagon services to my place in Akron, because this is Petticoat Junction.
Okay.
Cedar Run, Pennsylvania. Shout out to them. Good job.
So, all right. Any other thoughts or questions or things I can answer for you gentlemen before we pivot to our holiday talk?
I think it's time for an anyway, followed by a pivot.
Go ahead, Scott.
What?
We're waiting. We need to clear signal that we're going to pivot. We need the...
Brian, you've said pivot about 10 times in the last 10 minutes. Not once pivot.
Now we need an anyways. Come on, Scott.
No, because you guys are teasing me about it. I'm going to be like a child, and I'm going to dig my heels in and say no.
Oh, he's taking his ball and he's leaving the playground.
Mm-hmm. You can use my air quotes. You can do that too if it helps you. Anyways. All right. Scott, well, it's kind of my idea, but like you first mentioned, it was your idea first to talk about something positive heading into July 4th. And we did find that with the news on the public lands and stuff. But then I had posted that idea about the reliance on weekends and holiday weekends and stuff like that. So I just want to maybe turn this over to you first to say, like, what data do we have around this?
Well, one of the things we know is that people, probably about, if you look a month to 6 weeks prior to a holiday like the 4th of July, about 2/3 of active campers will tell you that they'd at least like to go. On the show earlier, we talked about people being interested in stuff.
Yeah.
And there's interest. There's always interest in going. So and it's around these holidays that interest is always spikes. Anyway, it's usually at least 2/3, sometimes more, of people are like, I'd like to do something for the holiday weekend. In reality, it probably ends up being around 35% actually go, but that's still a lot of people.
Yep.
And they go, during using a variety of types of stays. You have the people who will take just maybe the long weekend plus a day. You'll have people who will add on maybe a couple days on each end. You'll have people who take the whole week. And then sometimes you'll even just have an overnighter or a day tripper. We don't really count the day trippers because it's not really camping then, because they're not staying overnight. But the fact of the matter is that what you have is a lot of people want to do something over this holiday, and camping is a great way to do it because they like the activities. I mean, one of the things we know, and we've talked about it a lot on the show, is that people love different types of activities. They love events. They love this stuff. It's one of the reasons they go over the holidays, because their assumption is that you're probably going to do something. You're probably going to do something special, whether it could be food, it could be, different. It could be outdoor games. It could be just about anything. It could be fireworks.
Yep.
But that's one of the attractions, because people see it as something different. It stands out. So what you have out there, and again, we talked about this a little bit on the show earlier about what can you do with interest. It means that these people are prompted already in their minds. They're prompted. They're looking for a reason to go. They're looking for a reason to stay, at least at some point over the holiday. And it's kind of up to the person, the campground owner, to figure out how you bring those people in, because they'll come. They'll show up. You just have to. And some people figure they don't have to do anything because they're going to be full anyway, and that's great. But not everybody. And maybe it's also the type of guest that you want to attract for that holiday too. I think I know I say this a lot on the shows, but I think it's important for people to consider, like, who do you want to show up? If your campground is kind of laid back, I see him getting all weird here. And you don't have fireworks, maybe you want to think about who you invite. And I say invite. That's what you're doing with your marketing, by the way.
Yeah.
You're inviting people to stay. And so things like that. If you're going to have events, like who are your events going to be designed for? That's who you want to start to think about. So, again, I think it isn't just a matter of being full for the weekend over the holiday. It's being full the way you want, and having the events and everything turn out the way you want. And that's kind of my take, on the lead up to it. Because, like I said, to start off, most people want to do something over this holiday.
All right, who are you playing, Greg? Are you playing what's your role? You're playing the guy who does only market holiday weekends and cares about it?
Yeah. I'm the campground owner that relies too heavily on them. And maybe we should reframe that, because it's not. I wouldn't say that I know of any owners that rely too heavily on them.
Okay.
But
miss opportunities.
Yeah, and maybe they weight them too heavy, because for the most part, if you run a decent operation, your location isn't just really difficult, and you've got decent client base, you maintain your customer reviews are all right, 4+ whatever, you probably are full for your holiday weekend. Not everybody, to Scott's point, or maybe it was you that said it earlier, but for the most part, owners expect to be full on those weekends. So I don't know if it's right to say that they put too much importance on it, too much importance, even, whatever.
Too high of expectations, maybe, or
yeah. But it definitely, they feel it. I know I did. I think I said this before on the show. Our park was heavily seasonal. We didn't have as many overnight sites. The 3 holiday weekends together made up almost a third of our overnight revenue for the year early on. We did a much better job later on, as we got smarter and stuff. But in our first probably 5 to 8 years, we were like, man, if we lost a holiday weekend, that's massive. It was 10% of your overnight revenue for a year, one weekend. If something happened, if we had a rain out and 40 people didn't show up because we only had 52 or so sites back then, that's a massive blow to revenue for that season. But anyway, to answer your question, yeah, I'll be the guy that puts too much importance on the holiday weekends. So you two can beat me up now if you want.
I don't know. Like, I think it would be much more fun to play that guy. Like you're going to play. That's probably why you stole him and chose that one.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry if you know what, Brian, if you playing you is not an interesting role, who's to blame for that, Brian?
It's true. I mean, that's fair. It's a fair call out. Good thing I'm the AI Brian. I don't have to worry about being the real Brian.
Oh, you don't even have feelings to hurt.
No, the AI Brian doesn't have feelings. Yeah. So, I think it's interesting some of what you said, right? Like, I think the expectation, and have we heard any data, by the way, Scott, on the expectation? Like, has we heard that July 4th is just amazing for people, or?
You mean this year, what it's shaping up to be?
What it's shaping up to be?
The last we looked, it's looking to be above last year overall.
Okay. Do you think that's because it's on a Friday?
I think that's part of it. Yeah.
Okay. Are we able to? And I guess maybe this is an after question. I'd be interested to see if we could infer any data from that, like how much of an impact. Like, would we have been down if it was the same day last year? I don't know if we'll ever know that, but it would be interesting to try to pick that apart.
We can actually look some of that up. We can look at actual participation and based on day of the week. That would actually be an interesting analysis.
Yeah, it would be. We always found that, again, just my park and like small circle of park owners that we knew around us, if it fell on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, the weekend, the business was almost the same. It was just spread out. You didn't have it all at once whereas if it falls on a Monday or a Friday, everybody's jammed in for that time. And then because it's July 4th, to Scott's point, we would have people tack on a couple days at the beginning, a couple days at the end, or stay a whole week. They don't typically do that with Memorial Day and Labor Day because kids are back in school. But July 4th can be extended. But if it fell on a Tuesday or a Wednesday or a Thursday, it was the same amount of business roughly, but it would be spread out. And in fact, the best days that we found it could possibly fall on were Tuesday or Thursday. Because if people only had to spend one vacation day to link all that up, they would do it. And so they would come from Tuesday to Sunday or what, right? They would connect that one extra day. But Wednesday was always it felt like we weren't having the big weekend. But then at the end of the month, we'd look and go, wow, actually revenue was great. And from an operator standpoint, that was fantastic because we didn't have the one day with 65 check-ins all at once. And I know there are people out there right now with big overnight parks, like 65 check-ins, you sissy, like I got to do 500 at mine, right? But for us, that was a big deal. I mean, that was for our staff, that was a lot. And instead it would be spread out. And that was actually kind of nice because you were turning over a dozen sites, 20 sites here or there, instead of everybody comes in today.
Like, I've never been more excited about what I don't know, I think, than I am right now. And what I mean by that is, like, when we talk about like the future of like, you talk about campgrounds being occupied mostly on July 4th because Memorial Day, their kids are in school. In September, their kids are in school. And then if it falls on a certain day, then you only have to take one vacation day or not two or whatever else, right? Like, man, if I look ahead 20, 30 years to what I think is coming, like, if we can actually fix this problem, or what if parents don't have to go to work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday anymore? Then, boy, does that expand your season. Like, look at the future of education. Like, I mean, arguably, I'll say it out loud, what kids are learning in school right now, today, is completely worthless, 95% of it, once you're past 5th grade. You need to know like reading and writing and like all that kind of stuff, right? Like I believe that. Like right now, what you're learning. Now there is a lot of things that kids still need to learn. To be clear, they don't need to just not go to school. But the future of school is going to be like, okay, let's have a field trip to Egypt and put on a VR headset, and like we'll really feel like we're in Egypt because AI is going to spin up a whole Egypt world with our class like actually going on a field trip, and we'll be able to ask questions. Like kids are going to learn a lot more, I think, in an environment like that, which means they're probably going to turn out even smarter than they already are, right? But with more knowledge and intelligence and all that kind of stuff. But they're also maybe not going to be glued to a desk for 6 to 8 hours a day and have to go certain months out of the year. I think there's going to be a whole lot more freedom for the people who want to choose that, right? And that will lead to more meetups at campgrounds and homeschooling things and who knows what else, right? So I'm super excited to see what the future, like that's not a tomorrow, that's not a 2-year thing that's going to happen, but it would be really interesting to me to see how that impacts stuff. But back to holidays. Yeah, like I think the lowest hanging fruit here for people is, and I know Greg, like, I don't know what the fuck you're thinking, only marketing your holidays like you are. You're really behind in the times. But there's so many opportunities, man. Like if you just get off your ass in your chair in your bedroom in front of your inflatable bed and just do a little bit of marketing, then you could have like October or Halloween weekends, and you could have fall festivals, and you could have all kinds of opportunities that would earn you even more money if you just fucking tried a little, Greg.
Well, to be fair, one, the inflatable bed is back there because it's got the XPED logo. I shouldn't be blurring out my background. I keep hoping to get a sweet deal from XPED where they'll make me a brand ambassador. And two, we have our we have our Halloween weekends, but I have to have those holidays. If I lose the holidays, then everything else goes to shit because they're almost guaranteed 100% occupancy every year. So I count on those. Like that's where everything goes. And I will tell you this, I'll turn that off now and just say, like, because I can't even make myself do it anymore. But the one of the big misses I think that people make when they do rely too much on the holidays is they feel like, okay, if on a regular weekend, middle of June weekend or end of June, say kids are out of school, right? It's towards the end of June. It's nearing the beginning of July, second to last weekend. Maybe my activities are arts and crafts, and I put up my inflatable movie screen, and we have movies, or we do scavenger hunts, right? I'm doing all these basic things. Well, then on the holiday, I go crazy. I'm going to bring in a band one night and a DJ the other night, and I'm going to have 5 things to do during the day on every day, and I'm going to have a movie night and s'mores fire and all kinds of guided activities, and I'm going to bring in food trucks. You definitely want to create a great experience for the guests when they're there. But if the demand is as high as it is on holidays, and it is, and as Scott said, most people want to go, why do you feel the need to dial it up that much? They're going to come and find you anyway. Most everything else is going to fill up. Even if you don't fill up right away, even if you're 2 weeks out and you go, man, I still got 5% of my sites open. That's a drag. They're coming. They're probably coming. Again,
probably
not a blanket statement. This is not a blanket statement. It depends on your park and how you run it, what your reviews are, and what you
where
want.
You are, right? Like that's another thing, like where you are. Like stop trying to think that they're just going to fill your park for 4th of July weekend because you're in the middle of a field and you have no fireworks for 80 miles around you.
Correct. But all of those things, let's say we set that aside and you take the majority of the parks out there. Well, at least I feel like the majority of the parks are doing a decent job at it, right? People are trying hard. They're offering a decent experience. If you're one of those parks,
on the campground, I 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
Marketing the fact that they're doing it on the campground is way less.
Yeah, correct. I agree with you there. And you would know that far better than I would, but I would agree with you on that. But they don't, I guess my point is, don't necessarily look to dial it up that much. I mean, I've seen people, so I worked with a client who has fireworks every 4th of July. I did the math on it for them, and because they had fireworks, the 4th of July even though it would be 4 or 5 nights at 100% capacity, all their accommodations, all their RV sites, they were net negative because they would spend so much damn money on fireworks in order to fill the park. Like, at least make sure you're doing the math on these things, because it's a slippery slope. But I see people do it all the time. It's the holiday, we're going to be full, we have to have all this stuff going on. Well, if you're going to be full, do you have to? Could you dial it back some? Could you put some things in that maybe aren't as cost heavy and actually make the weekend more profitable and still create a decent experience? So that's what, if you're talking about putting too much emphasis on holidays, that's one of the ways I would say that people can do a better job, still putting emphasis on it, still want it full, but maybe look at your profitability a little bit. You can create a really good experience without having to spend, $15,000 on fireworks.
Yeah, I think one, if you're spending $15,000 in fireworks, you raise your rates, you market that correctly, you could probably get a better crowd, right? Not a better crowd, but a different crowd that would justify it. Depends on where you are.
Yeah.
Depends on what you're doing. Like, again, there's something to be said for the experience, right? The same fireworks versus like next week, like actually 4 days from now, we're going to go to it starts Friday, the Calgary Stampede, the greatest outdoor show on earth. Right? Like every night for 10 days, they'll have a crazy huge night show that ends with fireworks. It's like after we have concerts, and last year we had robot dogs dancing around and all kinds of stuff. But after that, it's like the fireworks show at night, and they have I don't know how much they spend on that thing, but they have the drones in the sky that make the like, and they you're not going to do that at a campground, but like if you have something to set your fireworks experience apart,
But what was the number that you said, Scott? What's the window and the percentage of people that are looking, the what did you call it, intent?
Yeah, it's about 6 weeks out, and about 2/3 of all active campers.
And that makes a lot of sense. And so does that tighten or expand the booking window?
It actually expands it a little bit, because for the holidays, people tend to book a little further out. We were talking about booking earlier as well, but people feel like they need to book if they want to get their site at their campground for the 4th. They extend it quite a bit more. So in our experiences, I mean, in surveying people, they seem to report a longer booking window for special events, any kind of event, really, but especially holidays.
And there are different types of people. Jessica's sleeping over here, by the way. Oh, she's not sleeping? Okay. She's like leaned back in the chair. You got to share my screen, Jessica. There are different types of people for July 4th. We got to remember that, right? So bring back our fuck y'all and fuck yeah.
Oh, that's me on the left, minus the sparkler. I'm so over fireworks.
So there are different types of people, right, that you're going to market to. So if you want people to come to your campground, you got to remember some people are going to like fireworks, some people are going to like barbecues, some people are going to like activities for the kids, some people are going to like quiet time, some people are going to enjoy the golf cart parades or whatever else. And it goes back to everything we've always talked about on the show about understanding your audience, but marketing to them too. But I think the biggest low-hanging fruit here for many people, and you can stop this sharing this, Jessica. I think the biggest low-hanging fruit here for a lot of people is that they are not thinking about the weekends they could turn into events themselves.
Yep.
And Halloween is not an easy one, but an easy one, right, to think of.
Because of its popularity, especially.
Right. Because of the popularity of of Halloween in general, right? But even things like bringing in concerts and music festivals or just piggybacking on something that's already in the area or whatever else. But what just happened to you, Greg?
I don't know, man. My camera does that every once in a while. It gets sick of looking at me like I do. I have a little piece of tape over my face on the screen here just so I don't see me.
That was almost long enough, Scott, where we could have wondered what happened to the airbed during that kind of black balls of not quite, but okay.
X-Bed calling.
So what are some, we'll run this through AI in a second, but what are some creative things that you guys have seen happen at parks for generating new weekend ideas?
So and this goes right to some of Scott's research. And Scott, you can give me the numbers on this, but food events around food and drink, I've seen some really creative ones around, not just, hey, we're having food trucks in, but actually like themed weekends around certain types of cuisine and drink. A lot of people do wine tasting, but if I remember right, and Scott, you can tell me if I'm crazy on this, but that rate's really high up among what people dig, right? About events. Food is way up there. Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah. So events around food, whole themed weekends around food. This is a struggle because most of the time people ask other owners what they're doing and then just replicate, right? Like that's what you see happening so much of the time, which is what, I mean, that's what I did for years. I didn't have AI. If I was still an owner now, I'd probably have more campers that would like me a little more, because it was a lot of rinse and repeat. But a lot, food, I think I've seen some of the most creative stuff around. What about you, Scott?
Craft fairs, arts and crafts stuff. If a campground has a nice common area for people to set up, and you can combine that with the food too. But that's something I've heard campground owners have done. The food stuff with a twist, like a special type of food event, like a Southwest barbecue or stuff like that. In Maine, a lot of campgrounds will do like a lobster bake. They'll bring in do a lobster bake and then have a guy carve bears with his chainsaw and stuff like that. So, but you know what? It's pretty fascinating to actually watch someone do that. I have to admit, it's kind of mesmerizing.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think I'm trying to think of where the park was and the name of it. I met somebody at a convention once that actually showed me photos, higher end park, larger, more resort style, but they had I'm struggling to think of the name of it now, where like a really high end chef, it's almost like done under the cover of secrecy. They'll have a really high end dinner in a odd spot. It's not a pop-up. I'm really struggling. They did this at their park. They had people, they sold tickets ahead of time, and they had a really high-end local chef come in and do this great big, and nobody knew what it was going to be. And the mystery of it, of course, that gets people excited. I don't know why. To me, that reminds me of that. I remember as a kid seeing the grab bag. It's $1. It's a mystery bag. And you open it up, and it's always just crap, right? But it's a good way to grease $1 out of a kid. So, but people dig that. So and the pictures were amazing. I mean, they really went all out. They had a lot more resources available to them at their park. But it's that sort of creative thinking that you need to have, right, in order to turn those low or slow or shoulder season weekends into something. Because it's very difficult what you're competing with is somebody's free time, right? It's not even necessarily their disposable income. It's time. If they've got kids in sports and kids are back in school now and you're into the shoulder season, like how do you turn that into something if people don't have the time to get in the car, tow the RV, bring the tent, whatever it is, and come to your park? It's really difficult. So you do have to get creative with it and then market the hell out of it.
Yeah, I'm using AI right now to go, but Scott, do you have any thoughts?
Those to me are some of the more common ones because they're a little bit easier to execute too because you're bringing in outside talent to do it.
Yeah.
If that's what I think the thing in terms of the creativity would be, find those collaborative things that you can do so that you and your staff aren't doing all the heavy lifting. You're going to have to do some anyway with coordination and so on. But it's like, find someone who can prepare food. Do outdoor cooking demos where, like, Brian can do his cinnamon rolls on a stick. That he
they're not cinnamon rolls, man. Don't get me started.
They look like cinnamon rolls.
No, man. Listen, come on, guys. You don't do that, do you? The little Pillsbury cinnamon rolls are not real cinnamon rolls. What are you eating that garbage for? What? They don't even taste good. They probably do taste good.
they do to campers. It's, you got to imagine it's midnight and you're into Bush Light number 47. Those things taste great. They taste amazing. It's warm. It's satisfying. You're barely conscious.
If you're
putting it in your mouth.
If you're a consumer of, is Bush Light even a beer? If you're a consumer of Bush Light, then I imagine that cinnamon roll probably tastes like the best thing you've had all night.
There you have it.
Because you've been drinking Bush Light. So
there you have it.
All right, let's see what we got here. We got AI. A couple different ideas for you guys here. We have a Campground Olympics weekend.
I did that.
In late August.
Yep.
Before school starts, campsites compete in challenges, tent pitch races, kayak relays, s'mores stacking, toilet paper toss, scoreboard medals, and a podium ceremony. Winning site gets free s'mores kits for the next year. Like, you could market the heck out of that stuff.
Yeah, we did that. That was one of our favorite weekends.
Mystery at Campsite 13, a live whodunit. Timing, any slow spring or fall weekend. Interactive murder mystery with clues hidden around the campground. Staff play characters, campers are assigned roles, ends in a campfire courtroom reveal. It's a little harder to do because I don't know that you have enough staff to do a murder mystery by default at smaller parks, right? That would be
that's probably a bigger park thing. Yep.
Glow in the dark weekend, new moon weekend, darkest skies, LED decorated trails, glow stick night hikes, blacklight karaoke, and a dance party in the forest. That'd be pretty cool. Glow gear included in the booking. Like, again, you can't do all these at once, right? You got to do one. You got to make sure it's successful, and then like do trial and error, right? You're gonna have a weekend, and that's why you try it on a slow weekend, right? But like you're gonna have some of these that hit or miss. So you got to have a budget for like, well, what if I buy a bunch of glow sticks and nobody shows up? So, Bigfoot Discovery Weekend, April, October. You can now you can leave video clues of Bigfoot with VO3. So, fake sightings, footprint hunts, kids tracking games, Bigfoot photo booth, and a Twilight expedition with sounds in the woods. Winner gets a certified cryptid hunter badge. Campground time machine. That's interesting. Like, it depends on how much is this stuff going to cost, right, Greg, is the ideal thing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and here in Ohio, the Bigfoot thing is big. The campground time machine, we actually, this is really funny, but we threatened our seasonal campers with this. We said we're going to shut off the Wi-Fi and the power. And there's your campground time machine, because it used to be all primitive, and you got no Wi-Fi. We're going to shut it all off.
And it's cheaper. Yeah, no electricity or anything else.
Yep, the threat of it did not go over well. We did not do campground time machine, but it was fun to play around with.
Campfire cook-off. These are not unique enough for me, I don't think, but like we'll go through them anyway. Campground Film Festival. Wilderness Wizarding Weekend. Wand making, spell hiking, potions for kids, sorting ceremony. That would go over pretty well, I think. Maybe not as well as it would have done when Harry Potter was coming out in this show in the theater, but Dogs and Donuts Weekend, dog-friendly games, photo booths, that for sure would work. Off-grid skills boot camp, we talked about that before. Forest Fairy and Gnome Festival, campsites decorate with fairy doors and gnome homes. Kids workshops on wings, wands, and mini garden crafts. Nighttime fairy-lit forest walk. Campground chili and cornbread. Paranormal Weekend. That could be your Halloween weekend. Stargazer's Dream Weekend. August during meteor showers. DIY camp decor weekend. Backyard carnival throwback. Unplugged, like that carnival thing is not a bad idea. Like the amount of people that like, I mean, I know Calgary Stampede is huge, but we have like a massive Midway here. Like, and every year there's like dozens of articles on the new Midway food. Like, I think there's Skittle hot dogs this year. I'm not eating any of that. I think there's Skittle hot dogs. Unplugged to reconnect, digital detox weekend, book and brews, literary camp out. That's an interesting one. Mini makers retreat, and night at the fake museum. Each campsite becomes a museum exhibit. Prehistoric, sci-fi, spooky, whatever. Decorate and present. Kids get maps. Staff as curators. Like, a lot of this stuff requires a lot of energy, and right, and that's the thing. Like,
yeah,
it does. But I will tell you, we did probably 10 of these, 20 as you're scrolling through them, or a variation of them, and use them as a theme for the entire weekend. And I have to say that for us, the type of park we were, they didn't necessarily drive occupancy, but we probably also were we were not marketing them well, correctly at all. We just weren't. It's much easier now, I think, for people to do that than it was for us back then.
Guys.
Jessica's talking.
I hear it.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Should make her turn on her camera.
What about a time capsule? Once a year, a weekend that's dedicated just to that, to encourage repeat guests for the same weekend. Like you could pick to do it on one of the slowest weekends or something like that.
That's not bad. That's not bad, because that encourages the people who camped with you that weekend, to come back on that same weekend next year.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought.
Yeah, that's a good repeat. I'm looking at number 2.
Divorce party camp out. I mean, it's not a bad idea. You could run.
Not a bad idea.
Probably run Facebook ads to those people. Facebook probably knows.
That, I have to be honest, that is incredibly creative, and it doesn't sound that. That's interesting.
Okay, so we're for the people on the podcast. Divorce party camp out. Target recently separated women, huge demographic. Why it works: bookable as a package for 2 to 6 friends. Lighthearted, fresh start theme. Fire pit, burn the old letters ritual, and champagne by the lake. Lift as you supply the campfire wood, champagne add-on, and a branded survival kit bag.
I want to know why it's so chauvinistic that it's only targeting separated women. I guess lonely dudes are sadder.
You are welcome to speculate on that if you'd like, Greg. I will stay out of that.
Is it that the lonely dudes are sadder? Is that what it is? They're not as not as likely to, let loose and have a decent time. Is that what that's?
And you just go over to your buddy's house and play poker and drink.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have parental escape weekend. That would be interesting. Exhausted parents looking for a quiet time. Tax refund escape weekend. Shitty job detox weekend. 25 to 40s burned out from office jobs. Why it works: your escape from corporate life weekend. Campers burn job titles in a campfire ritual. Optional phone lockbox.
Quite frankly, though, that's every weekend at a campground.
Yeah.
It's people detoxing from their shitty
rivalry
job.
weekend. I found you online meetup weekend. That would be interesting. You could get into some of those groups for sure. Like there's apps that exist right there for little clubs of people who like to go hiking with strangers and stuff.
Yep.
First time camp for confidence weekend.
That's a good one. I know owners that do
that up here, like for the association. Like
yeah, that's a really good idea. I know park owners that do that, and they bring on, to Scott's point, it's extra staff. It's a lift, and it's like extra staff that knows about how to set up an RV and deal with the problems. But that's a really good idea.
I'd like that one too. I think that it's much needed as well.
Oh, because you bring them in and help them with that first time. You have a customer for life.
Wi-Fi Addicts Anonymous weekend. Fantasy draft camp out. Rage camping. Marketed as the opposite of calm. Smash stuff, scream into the woods, and burn regrets in the fire. This is perfect for when you're thinking about a renovation.
Is that trademarked? What is with the?
Apparently, it's trademarked. Yeah.
Is there a TM next to it?
Yeah, there is a TM next to it. I don't know why. Yeah,
I've never seen that. Interesting. Okay.
Apparently, it's trademarked. But you provide a screen tent or safe smash space, just a tarp and junk wood. Liability waiver. I like it. Like, especially if you're just trying, like I said, if you're going to do a renovation to the campground, like, why hire a construction crew to take it all?
Oh yeah, we got to demo the restrooms before we before we renovate. Sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just as long as you have them sign a waiver, right, and you have good insurance. Weird skills weekend. Campground confessional.
Oh, that's not a good idea.
Love your anonymous notes left in a central confession cabin or old phone booth. Campers read others' entries by firelight. That could be interesting.
And by morning, the campground is empty and no one is coming back because everybody left a bunch of creepy shit in the confessional and they're reading it all.
Love your RV weekend. Pimp your rig contest. Camp and credit repair weekend.
That sounds deranged.
It does.
You can scroll past that, I think.
Yeah.
Oops, we forgot a holiday weekend. Noisy kids weekend. Let them go feral.
By the way, if you scroll back up, there's the raccoon.
This is not Burnout Bob, though.
I know, but it's still, ChatGPT is apparently obsessed with raccoons. There's a raccoon
camping,
mentioned in the one above it.
Campground conspiracy weekend. Fall of society simulation weekend. That would be cool. There would for sure be people like who would come to that. Doomsday preppers, survivalists. Like, you could probably get people from nearby states to come to that. Some of the stuff is so unique. Like, there aren't many on this list, right? But some of the stuff like that, it's a big lift, but there for sure is enough people in surrounding states that they would drive a couple hours to do something unique like that, to prep with other people who are in their mindset or their thinking or their way of life.
Yep. I love this last one. This leans right into Scott's data about car camping being on the rise. This is perfect.
Mega minivan meetup.
Yeah,
it'd be even easier if we could just, like, in the future, the self-driving minivans, if you could advertise and just program the minivans. Like, for $2 million, I just want to program all the minivans to come to my campground.
Yeah, right. Hack them all so they're
like,
and they arrive
I told you
staggered
to go
about
to Target. It's not going to Target. I've never been camping. I'm scared. There's a raccoon outside.
But this one's great for the showcasing the van setups, the roof tents, the best sleep setup, and best camp kitchen. Car campers, and I got it bad. Like, I'll stop at a campsite when I'm out and chat somebody up about their setup, and I've had the same thing with mine. That's a really good one. It encourages people to be social, and that's a really good one. I like that.
So that's for the people listening on the podcast, van lifers, suburban families, mega minivan meetup. Why it works, showcased best van setups, convertibles, roof tents, pitch contests like tightest sleep setup, and best camp kitchen. Lift is just a sign-up sheet and prizes.
So these are some good ways to turn your not holiday weekends into more like holiday weekends.
And now we have Burnout Bob's. Are you ready for this? Close out the show. Do you guys have any final thoughts before we?
Are we ever ready for Burnout Bob?
Everybody's ready for Burnout Bob.
Wait,
you don't like Burnout Bob?
All right.
Burnout Bob's amazing.
Hold on. If he mentions a raccoon in the first 5 returns, you stop talking about Burnout Bob and we close the show a different way. Go.
Come on, man.
Oh, bro.
Yeah, Jessica wants to know why you hate Burnout Bob. Jessica's actually on my side. Why do you hate Burnout Bob now?
Because he takes away my airtime. I'm trying to get a deal with XPED.
It's blurry, man. And you can't like have the camera go black in the middle of the show.
First 5 results, I guarantee you there's a damn raccoon in there.
Okay. Hoo boy, you came to the right chaotic legend for this one. Strap in because I put together 20 weekend themes so aggressively creative your guests will either book instantly or report you to local authorities for being too fun. Either way, they're staying at least 2 nights, possibly because they're confused or trapped. But hey, heads in beds, baby. Sasquatch stakeout and suspicion soup Saturday. Campers dressed in camo sit silently in the woods with binoculars and hunt for an actor in a cheap Bigfoot costume who randomly screams and throws Slim Jims at people. Everyone ends up at suspicion soup night, where everyone brings a crock pot and has to defend what's in it like it's a court trial. Guilt adds flavor. What do we think? Like, I think some of this, like, if this was your shtick, if this was your brand, right? I think Burnout Bob could franchise campgrounds. I think he could. I think I'd like, if I had enough money to throw away, I for sure will do that one day. Glow stick prom for people who peaked in 2007. Half-assed Halloween in April. Garlic Fest and Vampire Smackdown.
But people do love vampires. I'll give Bob that.
Financial ruin weekend, campground Monopoly. We build a life-size Monopoly board around the entire campground. If you land on someone's tent, you owe them hot dogs. If you go bankrupt, you have to sleep in the utility tent of sadness. We teach no real financial literacy. In fact, we encourage bad investments. No raccoon, man.
Damn it. All right.
July and January, opposite day weekend. Awkward foods and inappropriate shaped vegetables festival. That sounds dangerous. Twilight Vampire Camping Convention. Cricket Orchestra and Night S'mores Symphony. We hand out. That sounds too. I have to read this because it sounds too, like, good, and it's not, right? We hand out tiny plastic instruments to guests and force them to harmonize with actual crickets at night. End with a massive firelit performance of Bohemian Rhapsody by 40 confused children and 2 drunk uncles.
Yeah, that's that's not good.
It sounded like the headline was like, all right, this is maybe an interesting one,
Yep.
and then I knew it couldn't be.
Yeah.
Bring your boss to the woods weekend.
Bring your TPS reports. Shout out to Office Space. There you go.
Yeah. Zombie Gold Rush. Goat yoga, but competitive. It's not about inner peace, it's about winning. The goats are trained badly to disrupt poses, and yoga instructors taunt you. The last one still doing downward dog with a goat on their back wins a crown made of sticks and shame. Spaghetti Western weekend. Silent Disco Apocalypse, Paranormal Investigation Sleepover, Regret Fest 90s Craft Beer Revival, Campground Spelling Bee, but every word is made up. That would be fun. You could do that.
That actually would be kind of fun.
Include words like Blornstickle and Smorgblatt. I want to ask it for a definition, but we don't have time. Winners move on to the Phonetic Fight Club, where they must defend their word usage in a debate judged by a cat named Professor Meowsterton. Wizard Duel Weekend, Bring Your Own Wand, Cornhole Royale, The Hunger Games of Tailgating. Okay.
Not a single raccoon. Amazing.
All right. You guys have to do on July 4th weekend. What do you guys have planned for July 4th? What are you guys going to do? Anything fun?
I'm going. We're going up to our cabin on the river.
Very nice. That's cool. You have 2 cabins, Scott?
Yeah, it's off grid. It's out in the middle of nowhere.
It's fine. It sounds like a great time.
Perfect place.
It is. No, we like to bug out because the area we live in, it gets really, really overrun on the weekends. So, and we have a lot of hillbillies around us who like their fireworks. So.
Greg, any plans?
Nah, man, we stock up on scotch and food, and we stay in the house as much. But we stay in around the home as much as possible. We'll play in our gardens because we've got like, I don't know, we've only got a half-acre lot, but we've got a good portion of it taken up with like native prairie, and so we'll see what's blooming and look for bugs and just stay around the house. To Scott's point, there's just too many people out. I did enough holiday weekends at the campground. I try to avoid them now.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I don't even go out for New Year's anymore. But like, I will go. Like, I would and will. I'd love to go to New Year's in like Sydney, for example, or somewhere like unique. But I've always been that like I need something different type of person in my personality. So, would you ever do this at your campground, Greg? Firecracker limbo. Limbo stick is just a broom duct tape to sparklers.
No, sparklers don't have enough like oomph behind them. There were certain campers that I'd want, maybe certain ones with sparklers, and then like you break out an M80 for other ones.
You could use an M80 in an explosive watermelon carving contest.
That would be sweet.
It's like pumpkin carving, but in July and wet.
Do that in your country, it'd be even more interesting.
Illegal, but not quite illegal fireworks show. Scream singing national anthem at dawn.
That would be a great way to get back at your guests who don't pay attention to your quiet time, and you have to go out and quiet them down at 4 a.m. because people are calling you. Scream singing national
after they're
anthem
hungover,
right
they just had their party and they're just like an hour and a half in bed at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, just let them have it.
Scream singing the national anthem. The Great Grill Off, Burgers, Brats, and Betrayals. What even is America? Children's Parade. What? What is US 6? Kids dress up as whatever they think America is. That would be dangerous.
6.
I don't know what that means. Don't drop the firework dodgeball. Good. Regulation dodgeball, except the balls are marked with names of fireworks. Oh, that's not as fun as I thought it was going to be.
No.
Oh, one random ball explodes, confetti only, unless Barry brings his special batch again. Everyone screams, winner gets a jar of moonshine labeled pickle juice. Armoric style, patriotic movie night, Americathon obstacle course. Why is it giving me 20? I didn't ask for 20. Pie eating contest.
Bob's an overachiever.
Noise complaint. cornhole with raw chickens. Don't ask, just trust the process. Campground-wide simulated Independence War, bingo night with exploding cards. Capture the flag with a live alligator.
Oh, alligator instead of... Okay, we went with a different creature on that one.
Drunk Declaration of Independence reading. That would be fun. That'd be fun.
Yep.
Midnight lantern launch and emotional overshare. At the end of the weekend, we launched paper lanterns with handwritten notes about our campground regrets. People cry. Someone always confesses to clogging the toilet on night one. That's not what it's usually mean. All right, guys. Have a happy 4th of July weekend for all of you. And hopefully we find out after hours or next week or whenever we get the data that it was a great weekend for all the campground owners out there. And great news on the public lands again. Keep fighting for more stuff, right, Scott?
Absolutely.
Gentlemen, have a good night.
Have a good one, guys.
Good night, everybody.
See you.